The Arizona Wildcats could have 3 top 20 picks in the 2027 NBA draft. Maybe one is going to go top 3. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On NBA Draft with no ceilings. Your daily podcast on the future stars of the NBA. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Gentlemen, boys and girls, how are we doing? Tyler Rucker here for Locked On NBA Draft with no ceilings. We're going to get after it today, talk a little NBA draft for the 2027 because it's never too early. We're going to have some fun, talk about some prospects making some noise, especially when it comes to some exhibition play overseas right now. What gets people more excited than that? But first of all, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Join all the action at FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a home run this season. All right, folks, we're going to get after it. It is the dog days of the offseason, but draft season never sleeps, and neither do we at No Ceilings. And that's what we're going to be giving you is previews, some analysis to keep the blood going a little bit throughout the offseason as we wait for basketball to be in full swing. We're getting close to around 60 days-ish for both college and NBA to be returning. But right now we've been seeing with the college basketball scene a lot of teams heading overseas to have some friendly exhibitions. Teams are liking to do this now because it gives you the opportunity to basically have practices legally earlier than other teams. And one of these teams, we've seen Arkansas do this previously. They had a couple of exhibitions overseas. Arizona Wildcats have also started that. So this episode, we're going to be talking about those games, but specifically Arizona has a couple of prospects that you should be very familiar with from previous years, especially last season, and a big name that could be making some noise in the top 5, maybe even the top 3, maybe even flirting with a little running towards the top of this class because it's going to be very wide open. There's going to be a lot of prospects and a lot of names making some buzz throughout the year. So let's go. We're going to go big picture first. Some initial takeaways. They've had 2 exhibition games against Lithuania and Ukraine. And then we're going to kind of talk each prospect. I want to talk about Caleb Holt, Ivan Kharchenkov, Mo Krivas, some of my initial thoughts, as well as we'll throw in some names to keep a little bit of a spotlight on. But, this isn't going to be an episode focusing just on the Arizona Wildcats. And the reason why, as I kind of hinted in the beginning, was because of the type of firepower they could have in the draft space this year. Now, Arizona's been playing these exhibition games. Like I said, the first game they played against Lithuania's B team, which anytime you're playing against Lithuania, it's no joke. And, kind of seeing the schedule be announced by Tommy Lloyd in Arizona, my first takeaway was, whoa, that's a gauntlet of a trip. Kind of might be a little bit of a humbling one, too, for a young team that's trying to find their groove. Arizona plays Lithuania on Wednesday. They lost 99-88, which got people overreacting, but it was clearly just a game when you watched it. Team trying to get their footing. The whole team was cold. Guys couldn't hit anything from outside. They play Ukraine's senior national team on Thursday the following day. Much better performance. Pull away with a 107-85 victory, and they are scheduled tomorrow on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time to be playing the Lithuania senior national team, which that one will be obviously very interesting. So some quick takeaways. I wanted to start big picture. This Arizona Wildcats team, if you're watching from a college basketball perspective, the bench is going to be a developing story with this Arizona Wildcats team. They've had a lot of talented players coming in from the transfer portal. Dennis Dixon is going to be one that, keep an eye on coming from North Carolina. I think he's going to be more of that combo guard, gadgety type of asset that Arizona is hoping probably middle of the year, takes another step forward, really starts to come into his own groove. I think he's going to be a nice depth piece. JJ Miniquit, who has transferred over from Washington, is expected to kind of be more of a, facilitator floor general for this Arizona Wildcats team, did not play in these 2 exhibition games. So you kind of saw more of the combo guards with this offense getting a little bit more run than they might get on ball throughout the regular season coming up. Cameron Holmes, talented freshman, probably not a one and done at first glance. We'll wait and see, but very talented and intriguing piece for this Wildcats team's getting a lot of run with Caleb Holt, who we're going to have some words on in a second. You see a lot of the returners as well for this team looking great. RJ Godfrey, who is supposed to be eligible to be playing another year and kind of be the power forward, slotting into that, hopefully next to Mo Krivas, has also not played in these exhibition games. The eligibility stuff right now going on in college basketball, that's for a lot of these fifth-year guys that, that's another conversation for another day. That podcast could probably be 4 hours long, but focusing kind of just on the players here. I thought there's been some really good, impressive flashes from a lot of these big names. Let's start off with Caleb Holt. If you're trying to get familiar with Caleb Holt, you came to the right place. This draft class, you're going to hear a lot in especially the offseason and a lot of the preseason opening weeks of the year. It's wide open. Tyrant Stokes of Kansas. Stefan Joksimovic overseas, really talented, going to be popular names among the top. Jordan Smith Jr. of Arkansas, Caleb Holt. Those are 4 guys you should be very familiar with at the top. There's other names, obviously, Bruce Branch at BYU, Anthony Thompson at Ohio State. Excuse me. Going to be a lot of names that are – this class has talent, and it's raw talent. But there's also some pit bulls in the backcourt that are going to make a lot of noise at the top. And Caleb Holt, 6'5", 215 pounds is what he's listed by Arizona's website. Remember, we always take the measurements on team websites with a little bit of a grain of salt. One of the top prospects in the high school ranks. Nasty, tough guard that loves to go into people, plays with good strength, power, nasty on the defensive side of the ball. There's going to be a lot of similarities with his game when it comes to comparing him and Jordan Smith, who's at Arkansas. Smith's around 6'2", more of kind of your natural point guard. Caleb's around, 6'5"-ish, and he's got the power and strength to go with it. I like Caleb's shot a lot better. And funny enough, he's been ice cold in these 2 exhibitions. So look at me. I'm saying I like the guy's shot a lot better, and he can't hit a shot in the last 2 games. He's averaging around 14 points per game in these last 2 games. He's been 10 of 33 from the field, roughly. The shots have looked good. They just classic, like they're just not falling. The big thing, though, is what stands out the most is when guys like this that have the pedigree, have the hype, have the upside to be a top 5 pick in a draft class. What stands out is when they don't, we always say the off night. When you don't have a shot falling, how are you still impacting the game? Caleb Holt's been one of the best players on the court in both of these games, and he is struggling to shoot the ball. For a 6'5" off guard, he's averaging 10 rebounds a game in his last 2 games. He just had a game where I think he had 15 points, 14 rebounds against Ukraine. He had 3 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks. He is a madman on the court, and there's athleticism, but there's also tenacity and a motor that is poised and focused. One of the classic examples of a guy you kind of want to pull the reins in a little bit, because you're just like, hey, when he makes mistakes, it's because of effort, which is a coach's dream, because you're like, all right, we can work with that. You always talk to these coaches or these scouts, and you're like, I never want to have to try to get a guy to play harder. I would rather have to calm him down a little bit. So Caleb's got a lot working for him, and I think the shot's going to come around. The processing has been great, but the big impact, the big thing that stands out to me is the defense as well. The defense, there's some sequences that stand out, in these exhibition games. And yes, I know what everyone's going to say or what you might be thinking to yourself. Yeah, exhibition, overseas. I get it. It's still new tape. We get kind of an initial feel. We're dipping our toes into like, hey, what is it going to look like this year? What's the role maybe projected with this system? And with Caleb Holt, you see a little bit of flashes on ball, which was interesting. I think, Braden Burries last year, how they brought him alongside. And, there was a lot of questions with Burries about like, hey, he didn't get put in a position to be on is the playmaking really there? I think Arizona knows what they're doing. Tommy Lloyd knows what they're doing. They're going to try to get these guys to Tommy Lloyd wants guys to defend. You got to defend, and you also got to play team basketball. And I think with Caleb Holt, he checks those boxes emphatically. I want to see Caleb continue to get a little bit more on ball, see like kind of what the role is, the playmaking vision and whatnot. Is he going to be more of just this off-ball guy? But I buy the shot. It's a classic instance where I'm like, hey, the shot looks good. It's just not falling. It's not, a shot chucker that's like, oh, these are ugly processing. Really, really good stuff. Defensively, the footwork, the quickness, and the willingness to go toe-to-toe with anyone with just his lower body power and balance and his strength. It's really impressive stuff. So I think Caleb Holt's one of these dark horse, keep a serious eye on. He has a lot of intangibles that I would not be shocked if scouts and teams are going to eat it up. We're just going to have to wait and see throughout the year. What's the data look like when it comes to shot consistency? What are the splits? We got a long way to go. The season hasn't even started yet, but there is so much excitement when it comes to Caleb Holt, and I can't wait to kind of see what he does with this system. Let's transfer to another name that I was high on before these last couple of games, and I cannot believe the jump that I'm seeing recently from Mr. Ivan Kharchenkov. Now, last year, Kharchenkov was becoming a name that Arizona was making this run. They were one of the top teams in the country before eventually facing the buzzsaw of the Michigan Wolverines in the Final Four. But here is the story with Kharchenkov, if you're not familiar. As the year went on, all of a sudden, Arizona was creating a lot of buzz. And when you started watching Arizona closely, you're like, who's this gigantic forward that's just a defensive menace for Arizona? Oh, he's a freshman? 6'8"? Wow. That player, folks, is Ivan Kharchenkov. 6'8" from Russia. Really smart player. Really nasty defender. He was listed around 6'8", 225 last year. When I saw him in person, I thought there was good room for some weight to be put on. He's listed now at 6'8", 230 by Arizona's website. The biggest thing holding Kharchenkov back from that next leap of really heating up in draft spaces and with scouts is the shot from outside. You saw you kind of projected this 3-and-D, but like the 3 wasn't there, but he was such a smart offensive player. You're like, okay, maybe it's a connecting piece with really good defense. If the shot can ever come around where we're talking mid 30% on solid volume, you'd probably be like, that's going to be playing in the NBA for a very long time. Kharchenkov in these last 2 exhibition games has been incredible. Almost 25 points per game. He's had 8 stocks in the last 2 exhibition games, 6 assists to 1 turnover. He just looks so much more comfortable on the offensive side of the ball. It's the processing. It's, the outside shot as well. It's just it looks more natural and fluid. And I can't wait to see what he can do with another year. But this looks like a guy that could really make some noise as a top 20 prospect. If we can get a real step when it comes to his scoring versatility and even specifically just the shot, higher volume, good percentages, I think Ivan could be a name heating up real quick. We know this freshman class is going to be a little bit all over when it turns into some questions and whatnot. But I do think there's an opportunity for Kharchenkov to make himself some real noise and buzz in this class. All right, let's take our first break. And then we got to talk about some quick hitters in this. And this Arizona Wildcats team. We got some sleepers too. All right, folks, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with Daily Dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep. Now, you get the chance to make your prediction before the first pitch. Look, me personally, grew up in the Bay Area. Barry Bonds. We admit it. If you're a baseball fan, if you're an old guy like me, you still sometimes are throwing on Barry Bonds highlights. I don't care. It's just poetic to watch that swing. So are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB. All right, folks, we're back. Tyler Rucker here with No Ceilings. Look, I wanted to keep a couple more thoughts real quick on Holt and Kharchenkov. Kind of draft class in general. It's off season, so I've got a lot of thoughts in my head. I need to kind of just paint the picture for everyone listening. You're going to hear me probably say multiple times this offseason that, what I can't stand is when other evaluators out there will be like, oh, it's a bad, or fans will just be like, this is a bad class. That's not true. This is not a bad class. I've talked to a lot of scouts getting prepared for this season, and a lot of them compare it to the 24 class, which was wide open, which produced, a lot of intriguing talent. If you're trying to, remember off the top of your head, that's the Alexander Sarr class. That is the Zachary Richer class. I know you're groaning right now. That is also the Stephon Castle class. That's Reed Shepard. So that's Donovan Klingett. There's always talent. I hear that from teams all the time. There's always talent in every single draft class. You just got to find it. Some years it's a little tougher to project that order. There is talent in this class. There is very intriguing talent. I like to say that there is prospects in this class that are not as seasoned with their development as previous classes. You're going to see some prospects this year where you're like, ooh, this looks like a work in progress. And then you're going to see a sequence and you're going to go, whoa. There's about 5 guys probably in preseason lottery boards that fit that description to a T. It's just, there's some players that are going to make you scratch your head, and then they will do something in a sequence on the basketball court where you're like, okay, I see. I get it. The problem is how many of those guys are we going to have? Are any of those guys going to be a step further in development where it's, the consistency is a little bit more? Maybe throughout the year, it takes a while for that to start falling into place. A lot of young players, a lot of talent. A lot of these prospects are raw, a little undercooked. Need to keep them on the grill for a little bit, and don't rush it. Don't rush bringing it in too early to serve the table. Just be patient with this class because there is some fun talent, but there is also some fun returners. Caleb Holt's one of these guards that, probably as a freshman right now, you'd probably look at Caleb Holt and be like, hey, in one of these previous 2 draft classes, maybe he's a guy going in the top 10 that you get really pumped about, where it's like, hey, he didn't go top 5, but you got him at 7 or 8. You're pretty stoked about the nastiness, the competitiveness. He's going to be willing to go to war any night. But with a draft class that has a little bit of questions at the top right now, it's pretty wide open. Maybe you were seeing a little bit like, hey, could this be a Steph Castle of this class? Perhaps. Ivan Kharchenkov, you're going to see a lot of love on some returners with this class. Kharchenkov is right there. I think he's another name that deserves a little bit of steam. There's going to be older returners. Thomas Hauk, the Florida wing, who kind of shockingly decided to return. There's other guys like Amari Allen at Alabama could be a sophomore lead candidate. There is a lot of returners that are going to probably carry this class a little bit early on. It's just how much can the freshman class kind of showcase they're ready to take that leap. So I like a lot of these names on this Arizona Wildcats team. I think they got to figure out the bench issue. I've mentioned two big names that could be, big time players in this rotation that haven't even played in these exhibition games. The biggest thing for a lot of fans that if you're watching these games or whatnot, understand what the coaching staff's also doing. The coaching staff is trying to figure out who's going to be in this rotation, so they're trying to give as many looks as possible. Yes, I understand Bryce James is playing basketball for Arizona, so I'm not worried about him being an immediate, draft pick this year. I think he's going to be a multi-year college player, but it's awesome to see him get some run. I want to talk about Mo Krivas. Let's one more break, real quick break, and then let's talk about Mo Krivas. All right, folks. Big Mo Krivas. You're getting caught up. That's why we love you. Welcome. Mo Krivas, 7'2", 260. Going to be a senior. Somewhat of a coming home party for Krivas. Going back to, Lithuania. That's where he's from. As a junior last year for Arizona, Krivas averaged 10.4 points, 8.2 rebounds, 1.1 assists. He shot 56% from the field, 30% from three. Yeah, 78% from the free throw line. Anytime we see a big man that size shooting mid-70s, very ecstatic. 3-year career free throw percentage of 77%. That's a fun fact. Last year, he averaged 1.9 blocks per game. If you're also trying to get familiar with Mo, sophomore year was generating some buzz as maybe an end of the first round type of prospect, maybe a leap guy. Suffers a foot injury, out the whole year. He played 8 games total. That was when my boy Henry Vesar stepped in for Krivas, generated some buzz, ripped my heart out when he decided to transfer to North Carolina. The rest is history. Krivas had a great year last year, and now you'll hear 7'2", 260. You'll hear 10 points and 8 rebounds with a little less than 2 blocks per game, and you'll be like, 7'2", 260, 10 points per game? Yeah, I'm right there with you. But where Krivas does his damage is defensively. He is fantastic around the basket. He's such an underrated and really good defender, and I still feel like he's underrated that way. He is a rim-altering presence on the defense side of the ball. He's tough. He's physical. He's listed at 7'2", 260. It somehow doesn't feel accurate when you see him in person. He is gigantic. Now, you're hearing a lot of this and be like, wow, this sounds great, Rucker. This is awesome. What's the catch? Well, here's the catch. Krivas is offensively, for me, there's always a lot left. That is I'm desiring a lot more from Krivas on the offensive side of the ball. Look, he gets to the foul line a lot. He's good at getting free throw attempts. He converts at a great clip. Almost 5 attempts per game last year at the free throw line. That number continues to climb. 78% is a big number for 7'2", 260. If you could convert that many free throw attempts, that's great. I think there's a nice little jump waiting for his game when it comes to the rebounding and, the points per game. He's got to get better at finishing. And that's the biggest thing you're going to hear draft sickos, evaluators, scouts talk about when it's Krivas. Like the defensive side of the ball, the size, the rim protecting, it's all great. The presence he brings inside is very solid. Got to get better at finishing. You'll see him a lot of times where it's kind of like the offensive rebounds and the touch just isn't there. He'll miss a couple, putbacks. You're just like wanting to pull your hair out. It's the swing skill. It's funny because you're going to hear a lot of us always talk about swing skills. And the number one swing skill we'll always bring up with the guy is the shot. When it's like, hey, the swing skill for him this year to really skyrocket up some boards is like he's got everything working for him, but the shot's a work in progress. If the shot comes around, that's the swing skill. All of a sudden you're saying instead of a late first rounder, if all of a sudden he can shoot, maybe we're talking about him in the lottery. Krivas, it's a finishing takes him to another stratosphere. And what I mean by this is he just he plays sometimes when it comes to the finishing part of the game. He doesn't play 7-2. He plays like he's 6'9". He needs to get a little bit more physical and tough when it comes to the finishing, not just with finesse. You got to finish with a little bit of anger as a big man. You see guys like Zach Edey, Donovan Clingan in college. They were like, hey, if I get an offensive rebound close to the basket, I'm throwing this down. How dare you try to stop me? I'm gigantic. You're small. So with Krivas, you want to see a little bit more of that. He's got a little baby hook with both hands that like sometimes it's beautiful. It's inconsistent with the touch. Sometimes you get a beautiful arc on it. Sometimes he's throwing line drive, like frozen ropes right at the rim. It's just frustrating when you're that big that you're relying on a little bit of a baby hook on the offensive rebounds to score when it's like put your shoulder into someone and just throw the ball down. So I like Krivas a lot. You might hear this and be like, yo, you're a hater. No, I'm an Arizona Wildcats fan. I like Krivas. I just think that's the last part of his game that if he can find that a little bit more consistently, even like a step through or whatnot, it takes him into another stratosphere. Krivas was a guy last year a lot of us thought could have been a top 25 pick if he stayed in the draft, averaging 10 and 8, because the defense was that impressive. The center class was that all over. Decides to go back. I still think he could be a top 25 pick. But if the finishing could take a big step in the right direction, we're talking about a player that could maybe climb even as a senior because of the defense. And, he had that 1 year of the injury. So additional reps needed. Teams are going to understand that. Worst case scenario, I think Krivas has the defensive tools, the size, and the toughness inside to be a very, very impactful NBA center. If it's a rotation asset, whatever. He has a very good foundation. I just want to see the finishing come around because I think it takes him into another conversation where we're like, hey, can we get a little bit of Walker Kessler vibes from this? Now, Kessler's just a freak of nature when it comes to shot blocking and defense, but Krivas has a really good foundation for him to be a good draft pick and a good prospect player at the NBA level for a long time. That's going to do it, folks. Missed you guys. Thanks for checking out this episode. We're going to have plenty of content. It's just right around the corner. Need it to come a little faster, but draft season never sleeps, and neither do we. So my name is Tyler Rucker. Thank you guys for checking out Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings, and thank you for making Locked On your first listen